Are we ready to do that? Okay, here we are. Yes, we are underway. We do have attendees. For those panelists who are here, we do have attendees now showing up in the attendees space.
Okay.
Including Caleb.
Are they continuing to come in?
We have 8 attendees right now, and then the 8 panelists.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. This is Chad Euler. I was
Hi,
able
Chad.
to dial in.
Thank you. Why don't we give it one more minute, see if we get any other attendees popping in. We can start the meeting.
Chad, I've changed your name on the Zoom so that it's clear that it is you tied to this box with the phone icon. Thanks everyone for joining. We're just working through some technical kinks before we get underway. Should be just a moment. Rick, do you need some more time? Chair Creighton, we have 13 attendees at the moment.
All right. Why don't we go ahead with our early business items? Then let me open the meeting. 3:05 p.m. We just want to make a note that there is an adjustment to the agenda. The election of officers will be postponed until a future meeting. Also a reminder to everyone that this meeting is being recorded and we will be providing a public comment period later in the meeting. Let's do some introductions here of the commissioners and the staff. Evan, if you will start. You're on the top left, so you get the honor.
Okay. Thanks, Chair Creighton. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. It's good to see you. My name is Evan Polk, and I'm with the Clackamas County Sustainability and Solid Waste Program, staffing the meeting.
Bill? You need to unmute, Bill. Bill, can you hear me? You need to unmute.
Probably sounded better when I wasn't. Bill Potter, Commissioner.
So the host has stopped my video for a reason?
No, we thought you did, Rick. Go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
That's all I had to say.
Okay. Julie?
Hi, I'm Julie Hamilton. I represent public health on the Solid Waste Commission as the commissioner.
Thank you. And Cheryl?
Hi, everybody. I'm Cheryl Bell, she, her. I represent the Department of Transportation and Development on the commission as a commissioner.
Nice, thank you. Rick? Can you join?
Rick Winterhalter. Apologies, Rick Winterhalter with sustainability and solid waste.
Thank you. And Maya?
Maya Becerra, Sustainability and Solid Waste Administrative Assistant.
And Chad?
Hi, everyone. Chad Euler, County Waste Commissioner and resident.
And I am Carrie Creighton, the chair of the committee, also a public member. Thank you. The next item is the August meeting minutes. Have you all had a chance to read that? And if so, any questions? Do we want to move to accept the minutes or adjust the minutes? Corrections or additions? Do I have a motion?
I'll move to
This is
approve.
Chad.
the
I
minutes
motion to
as-
accept.
Do you get that?
I didn't, I couldn't hear what you said, Bill.
That I move to have the minutes approved as presented or as written.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The next item on our agenda is the expanded recycling services. Today we have a presentation by Ridwell Incorporated, allowing the commission to ask questions of the presenter. Later, we plan to hold a policy discussion and hold that off though until our next scheduled meeting, which will be Thursday, the 24th. So next week at 3 o'clock. I think it's next week. Yeah, at 3 p.m. Rick, would you, I guess we've already done introduction of staff. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Madam Chair, no, there
Okay.
isn't anything else I would
All
like
right.
to add.
Thank you. All right. So have a presenter here from Ridwell. Do you want to do that introduction?
I will absolutely do that introduction and just say thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I appreciate it. Today we are here primarily to listen to a presentation by the company Ridwell and allow you the opportunity to ask questions relating to this type of collection. Additionally, we will provide an opportunity for public comment. And I want to mention, next week we will have the opportunity to talk about policy discussion and that sort of thing. So we are going to provide an opportunity for public comment, and the chair will talk about that at the end of the presentation. But I really want to iterate to those that are on and that have written in that we really appreciate the commitment to recycling and waste reduction that has been shared by those of you that have taken the time to comment. And we've taken those to heart as professional recyclers. We find it a little enthused by your enthusiasm to continue down this path. So for right now, I think I'd like to introduce Caleb Weaver. He's the Public Affairs Manager with Ridwell Inc. And I think he has a presentation. Hi, Caleb, good to see you. So I think you've got a presentation and you may want to let folks know how you'd like to proceed, if you want to go all the way through your presentation and then hold questions, or how you'd like to do that. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rick, Chair, members of the commission. I really do appreciate the opportunity to provide a brief overview of what Ridwell is and why we are looking for an opportunity to serve the residents of unincorporated Clackamas County. And I do have a presentation. I've got sort of a good bit of information in there that I'll move through very quickly because I want to make sure that there's plenty of time to answer your questions. So if you give me 1 minute, or 1 second here, I'll share my screen, hopefully. Okay. All right. Hopefully you all can see that. Please shout if you can. So again, my name is Caleb Weaver. Thank you, Cheryl. I really appreciate that. My name is Caleb Weaver, and I handle public affairs for Ridwell. So I'm just going to start at the highest level. And what is Ridwell? We are a waste reduction service, and we provide a number of different things to our household members that sign up. But at the end of the day, our goal is to help households reduce the amount of waste that they're putting into the landfill. So where do we start? And I share this story just because it helps define sort of what we are and what we aren't. And so we really began as a father-son project that was being run out of our founder and CEO's garage. And he was doing a weekend project with his son where they were taking items around the house to drop off at reuse bins or donation bins or at recycle drop-off locations. And what they didn't want to do is drive around with an empty car. So they asked their neighbors if they had any of this stuff when they were going to go take things to drop off locations. And they got such a happy response from their neighbors that then they posted on Nextdoor, and they got such a response from the community when they offered this opportunity that they ended up with literally a list that was thousands long, and they were enlisting other friends and neighbors to help them with this effort. And really the light bulb went on, like, wait, there's a lot of people out there who want to take advantage of drop-off opportunities, want to donate more, want to support reuse efforts, want to support recycling efforts, but either they don't have enough time, they haven't invested in figuring out where things can go, what the needs are of local organizations, and are happy to have some help from somebody who's going to make it easier for them to get the items that they have around their house that they would like to reuse, know that they should recycle, and again, just make it a little bit easier. So how does Ridwell work? We are a membership-driven organization, so folks get a subscription. When you join as a member, you get a steel bin that can go on your front porch or on the side of your house. We also provide reusable canvas bags for sorting and storing the items that are included in our service. There's an opportunity every other week for a pickup. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Just need to make sure that those bags go into the bins in advance of the pickup day when that is offered. And then you need to opt into your pickup. We only go to houses where people tell us that they have something for us to pick up. We're not running routes. And we are only going through neighborhoods every other week and stopping at those houses where members have indicated they have something for us to pick up. So there's a lot of information on this slide, but I frequently get questions of how much does a membership cost? It's $12 to $16 typically. And what that gets is, again, that bin and the opportunity for a pickup every other week. As well as access to our help at Ridwell, where we try to provide that resource for any information that people are looking for on reuse and recycle opportunities. So people can text us, they can email us with a picture of something in their hand and go, what do I do with this? And our customer service team is set up to be able to provide that sort of very quick answer of, yes, that looks like it's a plastic, reusable film plastic, but actually that bag of banana chips is 6 different layers of plastic melted together and can't be reused and needs to go into the landfill because there's no recycle opportunity. So it's an effort to really educate folks. And then we also provide ongoing information for our members on ways that they can reduce and reuse constantly. So, we are really not just about recycling. Our goal is really at the end of the day to help folks reduce the amount of waste that they're creating. So For the categories that we do offer that pickup service for, what are we focused on? And so we actually have the Clackamas flyer here. Rick, I hope it's up to date, but it's not designed to be anything specific, but just to give you a sense of what we're focused on. If it's something that is included in the county service, we're not interested in that. If it's something that is already that is picked up as part of the service that people receive, I can't emphasize that enough. It's not something that we have any interest in, because there's already a curbside opportunity for people to responsibly recycle those items. We are solely focused, our pickup service is solely focused on, again, reusable items that community organizations are looking for, or items that could be recycled but cannot go into the curbside bin. And I want to emphasize, there's really good, sorry, missed something there. There's really good reasons why a lot of these things are on this list. And sometimes this gets misinterpreted that we think somebody's done something wrong. We don't. Those plastic bags jam up those machines, right? Once plastic bags go into the commingled bins, they get wet and they get moldy and they can't be recycled. So there's very good practical reasons why those materials are not part of the commingled service, right? And we understand that. And our service, again, is an effort to say, hey, look, these particular items are difficult to deal with. And so we're going to offer another way to get those to be recycled, because they don't work for, again, very practical reasons, whether it's the market, obviously light bulbs cause fires. I'm sorry, light bulbs get broken, release materials, batteries cause fires. So there's really good reasons why you don't want to put those items into your curbside bins. So again, we focus on reuse. Here's some of the examples of reuse that have been in the Portland area: pet products, pans, books, bike parts, corks. You get the idea. It's a rotating category that I'll talk about more, but we try to work with organizations in the community to identify what their needs are. So here's a few of the Portland area organizations that we've worked with. And again, we don't gather materials. I really want to emphasize this. We're not gathering things and then figuring out where they go. We are only offering collection of materials for which we have a partner already identified. And so for the reuse in particular, you'll see we get calls from local organizations saying, hey, look, we are really in need of X. We really need kids' books because COVID has dented our ability to be able to do collections. And so then what we're able to do is go out to our members and say, hey, look, we're going to make it easy for you to get the items that are around your house to these organizations that can put them to good use. So again, here's a few of the local Portland area organizations that we've worked with in the past. So in addition to the reuse, as I mentioned, there's these hard to recycle items. So primarily light bulbs, plastic film, and batteries. We don't take lithium-ion batteries. We don't do the big batteries. It's the alkaline and the rechargeables is really all that are part of our service. And again, all of these are source separated by the households. And again, this is an effort, as I mentioned a minute ago, to solve some of these long-term challenges, right? The fires, the jamming up of the sorting machines. These are real, just practical challenges. And we've said this many times. Our hope is that all of the investment that we keep seeing of other companies that are working on sorting machines that solve the plastic film problem, we hope they succeed. We really do. And that's no longer a category because it can go into the commingled bins and can be pulled out in a way that it can be recycled. That would be a wonderful thing from our perspective. But for right now, while that is still not an option that is widespread, we provide this other option, again, for people who aren't making it to the drop-off locations, or for whatever reason, whether they're too busy, they don't trust them, they don't know where to go. And so again, we're offering that option that is helping solve these problems that again, the haulers have faced for a long time. We really focus on local partners wherever possible. So as you can see, a lot of our reuse here are listed, organizations like Rosehaven, Pioneer Wiping Cloth, Scrap, Birch Community Services. We stay as local as we possibly can. For some items, particularly the plastic film and the clear clamp or the plastic clamshells, where there isn't a local opportunity, we do have to go regionally. So Trex is in Nevada, and Green Impact is south, I believe, in Arizona or New Mexico. So there are some regional partners, but again, we always look to stay local wherever we can. So the pickups, as I mentioned, they're offered bi-weekly. So it's this core group of core items plus the featured category, again, primarily reuse, although sometimes it's things like light bulbs, immediately or Christmas lights following the holidays, as well as in some areas, depending on sort of what's allowed under local regs and whether we can find a partner, things like styrofoam and latex paint. So I don't believe we do latex paint in the Portland area, but we do offer styrofoam pickup, and that's for an additional fee. So our transportation, again, we redo our routing literally every day so that we're only going to the houses where somebody has told us that they want us to come pick us up. We use dedicated vehicles. We use small vans. We're not using big trucks. This is a fundamentally different service than what the garbage haulers are providing, right? You can't put light bulbs into a truck that's going to compact everything, right? You can't put items that are going to be reused into those large vehicles. So because everything is separated, we're using these small vans, and we're just going to, the houses that have said they've got something for us. And we try to do an online tracking to make it as easy as possible for everybody to know what's happening there. At our warehouse, because everything is source separated, we're not doing the traditional separation that you see at a MRF, because, you know, again, whether we're a MRF technically under the law or not, again, that's not necessarily the issue. We're getting all of our appropriate permits from Metro and from DEQ. But the reality is this is what our Portland warehouse looks like, because all we're doing is consolidating the materials that have already been separated and preparing them for delivery to our partners. We're entirely transparent on who our partners are. So this is our webpage. You can see it, it's ridwell.com/transparency. And we list all of our partners by market so everybody can see where their things are going. And then importantly, because we think education is just critical here, we list how much contamination we're getting in our bags. So the things that people are putting in the bags that our partners can't take, so that we can create greater awareness about what can be recycled and what can't, and get as clean as possible materials for our partners as we possibly can. So want to really emphasize, we are committed to regulatory compliance. We absolutely believe that, like, if there's laws that apply to us, regs that apply to us, like, we are committed to following them. And you know, our business model doesn't fit, unfortunately, into the regs that often exist, and we recognize that in some places. There's been some interpretations of code that we felt have sort of unnecessarily tried to prevent us from operating in some places. But again, we're 100% committed to compliance. We've always tried to engage with local regulators to answer any questions that might exist, because we actually believe that we should be partnering not in any sort of adversarial situation. We believe we should be partnering with the garbage haulers because our service is entirely complementary and can help solve some of the challenges that they have. In Clackamas County in particular, as you all may be aware, we are not providing service in the unincorporated areas of the county after being notified that there were some zip codes that crossed municipal and unincorporated county lines. We have stopped providing service to the folks that were on the unincorporated areas and submitted an application for the recycling license, which again, we believed was applicable, and we're trying to hopefully work through that process. There have been some discussions in other places about having a permit process or making this something like our service be a monopoly, part of the monopoly or the franchise contracts that exist, and adding that service. We believe, for a number of policy reasons, that it doesn't make any sense to make an optional service like ours something that is only provided by the certificated or the franchise haulers with the exclusive contracts. It doesn't, you know, particularly when these territories are divided up, to have the inefficiencies of multiple different haulers having multiple different programs that only serve a small geographic area. We're all for competition to provide the best service at the lowest price. And again, as you can see on this list, we believe innovation is really critical here. If we're going to be making progress on how we reduce waste, sort of encouraging new ideas and new ways for people to reduce waste, we think that's a positive thing. And we're talking about a pretty small percentage of the overall volume here. So the reasons that you have exclusivity, right, for those efficiencies that come with the large amounts of material that are needing to be moved by the garbage haulers through the franchise contracts, we understand that makes sense, and we are in no way challenging those contracts or that system. But again, for those items that are not part of the standard service, we believe that it makes sense to have a permitting process or a licensing process that's not exclusive, that enables the county to have appropriate oversight of that activity, reporting, visibility into how things work, but not making that exclusive. And again, be happy to talk about that in further detail. So we've been welcomed in dozens of cities across the PNW and in Colorado and Minnesota. We just recently launched there. And I think again, we're really excited about the opportunities to partner with local jurisdictions to help address some of the challenges that they face. Our members love having us around. It's one of the most gratifying things about this job is that people really have embraced the service as an easy way for them to be able to do a little bit more to reduce waste. So with that, I know I was a little bit longer than the 10 minutes that Rick asked me to hold to, but I apologize for that. I hope all that information was useful. And then would, of course, be happy to answer any questions that you all might have. And I can stop sharing. Meantime.
Sorry about that. I was muted. I said, thank you. We appreciate the presentation. Any questions from the panel? Evan.
Chair Creighton, just a note that another solid waste commissioner is now with us and wasn't introduced, Mr. Bushy.
True. Thank you for that reminder. Alan, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
I'm Alan Bushy, hauler industry representative. I'm with B&B Leasing. It serves a good portion of the county, the unincorporated county. So that's who I am.
Great to meet you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll go back to my question. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Bill.
One of the reasons that a lot of these items that you're recycling and disposing of now are not done is because they're either not profitable or they cost money to dispose of. In case in point would be like batteries, for instance. And I was wondering what your funding stream looks like and how you're making money on moving things that either you have to pay to get rid of or some other is a cost involved in it.
Yeah, great question, and something that I should have mentioned. So we are providing that service. So our members pay that monthly fee, and that's what covers the cost of the service. So we are not relying on the gathering of the materials to provide any sort of funding for the operations of the business. The business is predicated on, again, a fee for the service that we are providing. So as you mentioned, some of those items like batteries, when those are disposed of properly, right, there is always a cost by anybody who's disposing of those. Right. And so that's just sort of a fixed cost of those items. For others like the plastic film or the clamshells, we've sort of publicly said we get paid a nominal fee that sort of covers our costs that are associated with those items. But again, the business really is that service that we are providing that people are paying that membership fee for.
You have no other outside sources of funding?
So we have some investments, but that's really funding our expansion and our efforts to expand other communities. The cost of the service is the membership costs are what covers the cost of providing the service.
Okay. Are you a nonprofit?
We are not. No, we are for profit.
Okay. I'll allow others to ask now.
Okay. Cheryl, I see your hand is up.
Thanks. Sorry to find my mouse there. Thanks for the presentation, Caleb. I really appreciated it.
Thank you.
if our board was to adopt some code amendments to allow companies like yours to operate in Clackamas County, what territory would you intend to serve, and how many prospective customers do you think you would have in Clackamas County?
So we are happy to serve as much of the county as is interested in having us. We don't have a real interest in driving trucks or driving our vans to communities that don't really have any interest. So we try to see if there's some interest in a community before we start providing service. That said, in a place like the Portland area where we already have a pretty good, we have over 20,000 households in the Portland area that have joined as members. We're prepared to sort of serve as much of the area as is interested in having us. As far as how many, again, we're new. We've had a tremendous response from the Portland area. Again, we've only functionally been operating since the very end of 2020, beginning of 2021 in the Portland area. We operated for a few years before in the Seattle area, and the reason that I wasn't around at the time, but the reason that we made the move south was requests from people who had friends or family or who moved down from Seattle and said, hey, any thought of coming down here? And so that's a lot of how we tend to make the adjustment. That said, if a community said, hey, look, you can only operate if you're going to serve the entire area, that's something that I think we would be certainly prepared to deal with, and we understand the equity, the issues that can come there. Again, most counties that have that urban rural split do treat them a little bit differently, and there's no doubt the sort of more suburban areas that are bordering more densely populated or incorporated areas would be easier for us to serve than the more rural areas, for the same reason that any other service finds it easier to serve those areas. But again, we'd be happy to work with you all on that.
What types of jobs does Ridwell provide, and do you classify your staff as contractors, or are they employees? And then how many percentage of them are contractors?
Yeah, so we basically have no contractors. There may be one or two folks. Everybody who is a contractor for us has an open job offer to join us as a full-time employee. So that is permanent offer. When we started several years ago, there were a greater percentage of contractors, but it doesn't make any sense for our business model to start with. And from our founder's perspective, we want, it's just, again, the only people who are still contractors are folks that have told us that they do not want to be employees. And so, we pay above minimum wage. Benefits begin from day one. And, it's not a huge workforce. We don't, because we're only going to neighborhoods once every 2 weeks, and we are only stopping at the houses where people have told us that they have something for us to pick up. It doesn't take that many people, but I think the total in the Portland market is around 50 folks, and that includes the folks that work primarily in the warehouse and the drivers who drive the vans and do the pickups.
Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate the answers.
Sure.
I have another question. Do you have a drop-off center, or is it completely pickup based?
We do not have a drop-off center. We occasionally will partner with organizations to do drop-off events where we'll post up in a partner's parking lot or something like that, but we do not have a permanent drop-off option.
So am I hearing you correctly, Caleb, that if one of the partners wanted to have a drop-off location on their site, that you would provide that service?
So we have only done it as events. We haven't done a permanent drop-off location. It's not that I think we just haven't really figured out how to make it work with the business yet. It's something we've considered, but for now, we've done regular events, like periodic with different partners, but not as a permanent spot.
Okay.
And I think part of that, I would just again be clear,
Sure.
one of the challenges is that, say for plastic film, right? There are grocery stores and others that have drop-off bins and places where people can take things. And in addition to the fact that, again, part of what we are offering, right, is that service that so people don't have to go and find the drop-off location, is the contamination that happens when people do a drop-off and they just start throwing stuff in,
Right.
versus the intentionality of like, we are going to separate this out and put this into the bag. And so a little bit more work up front, but still that ease of not having to travel and not having to think about it is the way that we've been able to really get very clean, uncontaminated materials for our partners. And avoid some of the issues with the drop off. So again, it's not that we don't do them, but the business model is very focused on providing that convenience of the pickup service.
I was just curious from the standpoint, I'm sorry, I didn't see if any other hands were up before I started speaking. I was just, part of what I was asking is years ago, I remember the New Seasons in Selwood where I lived at the time. The Girl Scouts were stationed there and they collected with the haulers and collected plastics primarily at that time. So it was monitored and I wasn't thinking of just a plain drop off, but were you a partner? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned the Girl Scouts. We actually last year had a partnership with the Girl Scouts where we did something similar with them shortly after Cookie Time, when they had a lot of plastic film that they were trying to figure out what to do with, and so we turned it into a bit of an event in partnership with them. So again, we will do those kinds of one-off partnerships, or periodic, I should say, just not.
Sure. Any other questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Kind of going back to the rural area, how many customers would have to be in a certain area before? Because I know you said, wherever a community wants a service, what kind of metrics is that, or is that something that, if somebody up on the mountain, if a community up on the mountain wanted the service, how many people would need to be involved?
So it depends. And I know that's a very unsatisfying answer, but it really depends. And so it depends on the size of the community. If it was, it really, and then like how close folks are to somewhere else. So, if it's a couple of homes off by themselves, but you're only a few minutes away from a neighborhood, that would be different. So it really does vary in what we're looking for, and we will, when we're starting to gauge interest, you will see us occasionally set targets, say, hey, reach 500 people in this community, sign up, but that's usually a mix of the sort of overall size of the community and the density. So that number might be literally 100 people for a smaller community where we just need to see that, hey, there's enough interest that we could actually fill a van or get close to filling a van once every couple of weeks, versus much larger area where that target might be a few thousand because it encompasses a big area, and so with a lot of density that we would need to see that sort of level. So again, it really does vary, and we're as we certainly started in more dense areas initially, so in Seattle proper and in Portland proper, and have expanded pretty regularly over the last few years, and now have some pretty rural areas, particularly outside of Seattle, where we've really moved into sort of broader areas. In the Portland area, again, because of some of the questions about where we fit from a regulatory perspective, we have not moved and opened up that similar service.
Perfect, thank you.
Chad, I can't tell whether your hand is up or not, or if you're interested in asking a question because you're on the phone there. Do you have something you'd like to question or add?
Yeah, was that question to me, Chad?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I just wondering whether or not, I can't tell whether you've got a hand up or not because you're on your phone. Just wondering if you had any.
I do.
Okay.
I do have an invisible hand up. Yes, thank you.
Oh, do you? Okay.
So my question is, how do you guys manage contamination at the pickup? So if it's garbage or if it's something that has a pickup option today, like say a milk jug or something, how do you guys deal with that? What's the process?
Yeah, great question. So it's a two-part process, or three-part really. So the first is that we try to make the materials that we provide, so in particular the bags, have descriptions right on them of what goes in each one and what our partner can take. So that's printed right on the bag so people can see it as they're putting stuff in, that they know what should or should not be going in. Second part is we regularly are providing updates to our members with education about, hey, see this, I mentioned this earlier, but like, see this piece of plastic, looks like it could be recycled by our partner Trex. Actually, it can't. And so we try to put that in front of folks as often as we can, particularly when we notice that there's particular contaminants that are showing up frequently. We will do a message campaign to let people know, like, hey, look, we're seeing these things appear, beware, it can't go in. Next part, as I mentioned, is that customer service, right? Where we try to make it super easy for folks to ask whether something can go in a bag or where it goes, so that people don't feel like they need to guess. Because that's often where you run into the wish cycling problem, is that, you've got folks who are committed to doing the right thing. When in doubt, they're like, oh, I'll throw it in just in the hope that that it can be recycled. And that way, at least I'm not the one throwing it away. And so we try to make it very easy for folks to be able to get those questions answered before they put that into the bag. Then once the driver comes to the door, they are not doing a full inspection at the door. However, if they see things, if the bag is open or there's something set out next to the bag, they will remove it. So a milk carton is a great example. If the driver saw a milk carton, they would take that out of the bags and leave that where it was, because that is not something that our partners can take. We don't take milk cartons. Those, again, if you're talking about generally those can go into your commingled bins, with some exceptions for some of them, but generally those can go into the commingled bins, and our drivers know that's not something that we can take. And so if they can see that, they will leave it there. If they don't see it and it gets back to the warehouse, when we are emptying the bags, we will pull out the obvious contamination. And so that's how we track it. So again, for the plastic film that looks like plastic film, but actually can't be recycled by our partner, as those bags are getting emptied and baled for transportation to our partner, that contamination will get pulled out and disposed of appropriately through the hauler contract that we have at our warehouse.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Anything else?
Well, thank you all so much for the time. My email is just my first name, caleb@ridwell.com. Feel free to shout with questions. I offered this up to Rick and Evan, but we'll say the same thing here. If anybody ever wants to come and take a look at our warehouse, we are happy to do a tour, show folks our warehouse, so you can sort of see what the operation looks like. You can see why we're aggressive supporters of the styrofoam bans and others, because stuff takes up a lot of space and it's a big problem. And why we really are just sort of consolidating things in that warehouse, and what we're collecting are those things that we have the pre-identified partners for. So again, we're very transparent about sort of how we operate, and we are really looking to be a good partner with the community and with community organizations and with the garbage haulers. So we look forward to that opportunity.
Thank you, Caleb. We have about 18 people in the waiting room.
Thank you, Caleb.
Thank you.
We'd like to open it up to questions for you as well. Oh,
that's fine. Yep, happy to.
Okay.
Happy to, no problem.
So, Maya, is there anyone in the waiting room that you can see with a hand raised or that would like to ask a question or make a comment?
Yes, I do. I see Corey Connors.
Okay. Hello, Corey. Go ahead, please.
Hello, can you hear me okay now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for giving me a few minutes here. My name is Corey Connors. I am actually a sustainable packaging consultant, and I also host a podcast called Sustainable Packaging with Corey Connors. I had the honor of interviewing Ridwell Taylor from the local Portland facility and got to tour their facility. As an Oregonian, I was fully supportive of this idea of the ability to recycle things that we haven't been able to recycle. And just so thankful that they showed up. Our family signed up as soon as we could. Been in the Portland area my whole life, and just totally thrilled that we can recycle this material. For example, only 4% of batteries get recycled in our country. That's a really low number, and Ridwell is working hard to improve that. We fill our plastic bag every week or every 2-week cycle, and Ridwell takes it away, and they turn it into Trex decking material, which then gets sold to a local community, and it just makes more jobs and takes that material out of the landfill. 500 square feet of Trex decking equals about 140,000 plastic bags. So that number really stuck in my head when I talked to them about their materials. Ridwell is doing good things, and it's making jobs for our local community, and it's making it easier for our local haulers like Alan at B&B Leasing, which is a great company. Keeping that material out of their MRF is such a great service. So I want to applaud Caleb and thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Corey, very much. I appreciate your comment. And one thing I neglected to say is, and Corey was good at doing this, and that is others that want to make a comment or ask questions, if you could limit that to about 2 to 3 minutes, that would be appreciated. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, we have Elise Belton.
Hello, Elise. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you. So I just wanted to say that I am one of the people in unincorporated Clackamas County. I live on River Lane Road right by Hebb Park, and I was using Ridwell for about 4 months before they had to stop servicing my area. I found out about it through a neighbor, and then I got another neighbor on board, and I tell you, I miss them terribly already. I really want them back. I don't want to be taking things myself. I love the pickup service at my door. And the fact too that, now I'm like, oh my gosh, this film from my toilet paper. Now I'm having to throw it back in the garbage, my garbage bag every week now. And to me, there was no crossover between what Ridwell picks up and what my garbage hauler picks up. And I just think it's a wonderful, very easy, very straightforward complimentary service. And even like what Caleb had said before, I'd have a question about something, I'd take a picture of it, go on the email, upload the picture, say, hey, can this go in this bag? And I'd get my answer right away. So I really miss them and want to see them back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your comment. Maya? I'm sorry, I can't see people, Maya, so I appreciate you're managing this piece for us.
No problem. We have Sharon, who is next.
Hello, Sharon. It's Carrie. Welcome, and please go forward on your comment or question.
Okay, thank you. I just would like to echo everything Elise said about the service. I live in Oak Grove, an unincorporated community that's we're pretty densely populated here. I too just was on with Ridwell for a few months before they had to disappear. I am optimistically hanging on to all my equipment and still saving my plastic film, my clamshells, the batteries. And as Elise said, there's no overlap with what I cheerfully put into the blue bin and the garbage can and the yard debris. And I would like to say that I have, in the 15 years I've lived here, really appreciated the waste management system that we have. Ridwell does not compete with that. It just gives a whole lot more help in keeping things out of the garbage here. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Oh, and I want to say one more thing. Yes, to the easy customer service. I don't even email. I text pictures and questions and get immediate responses. It's amazing.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Caleb, if you are ready to go, you're welcome to go. I will just continue with the comments from people that are waiting. And it sounds like we've got some good responses here.
Well, again, I appreciate it. I'm certainly happy to stick around and answer any questions that folks might have. And look forward to hopefully working with you all on a policy that makes sense going forward.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions from the commissioner's staff before Caleb has to leave? Bill? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Caleb. Appreciate your time.
Thank you all. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Yes, thank you. Okay, Amaya, do we have anyone else with their hands up?
At this time, we do not.
Okay. I'm not sure if they can hear me. If there's anyone else that has comments or questions, if you'd like to raise your hand so Maya can see you, we'd appreciate it.
At this time, I do not see any hands raised.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. So, any other comments or anything from the commissioners? Otherwise, I think, or staff. Otherwise, I think we are probably, I'm going to look at my agenda here real quick. I think we are probably at the point where we will adjourn. And unless you have some updates from the previous meetings, anything like that?
Madam Chair, at this time, no. And since I was busy at the beginning of the meeting, I'm not certain if you mentioned that we had decided to postpone the chair and vice chair elections to a future meeting.
Yes, I think I did. I mentioned that we would
I
be.
apologize, but
Okay, no, that's fine. You were busy.
we don't.
Good to repeat it.
Yeah. At this time, we don't have any staff updates.
Okay. Well, with that, I will
I have
end.
a comment.
Oh, sorry, Bill, go ahead.
I'm assuming that as a committee or commission, we need to have a further discussion on this in detail. I know we discussed the matter last fall and summer, but I think there's a lot of questions that I have from regulatory and policy places as far as our laws go and everything and our ordinances that I would like to discuss, and also get some feedback from our franchise haulers as well.
And Madam Chair, Commissioner Potter, that is our intent at next week's meeting. You know, we scheduled a meeting for next week and everybody will be available, which is fantastic. And hopefully our new industry member will be approved by the board by next Thursday. That is our goal. That process is undergoing. And so we will have that policy discussion next week. Certainly, if you have questions ahead of time or things that you want to make certain are addressed, feel free to email those to me, and we will definitely, look over those, make sure we do the research and come back with those answers.
Okay, and not all of the franchise haulers are represented on the committee. Will they be invited to know that we're talking about this?
They absolutely are.
Okay.
And that is why they are represented on the commission, so you can
But not
provide
all
more
the haulers.
information. Well,
Right.
it's a representative commission.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's all.
Anyone not represented on the commission is able to speak during public comment periods as well.
Right. I'm done.
Okay, anyone else have any other comments or questions? Okay, I would entertain a motion that we adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
All right, a second.
I'll second.
All right, moved and adjourned, moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, okay. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Thank you all very much. We
Thanks,
appreciate it.
staff and Madam Chair. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye.
Everybody.